The National Electrical Code, or NEC, does not permit the use of a backfed breaker as a main in a panel. Specifically, Section 408.30b of the 2020 NEC explicitly prohibits this practice. This section states that overcurrent protection for conductors shall not be provided by the use of fuses or circuit breakers in parallel. The reasoning behind this prohibition is to ensure that the overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers, function correctly and reliably. When circuit breakers are used in parallel, it becomes difficult to guarantee that they will trip simultaneously and share the fault current equally. This can lead to one breaker carrying a disproportionate share of the current, potentially exceeding its rated capacity and failing to trip in a timely manner. This failure can result in overheating of the conductors, insulation damage, and ultimately, an electrical fire. There are several reasons why using a backfed breaker as a main is a problematic configuration. Firstly, a standard circuit breaker is designed to be installed in a specific orientation. The terminals are designed to accept conductors of a certain size and type, and the breaker's internal mechanism is calibrated to trip at a specific current level when current flows in the intended direction. When a breaker is backed, the current flows in the opposite direction, which can affect its performance and reliability. Secondly, backfeeding a breaker can create a safety hazard for personnel working on the electrical system. If the main breaker is backfed, it may not be possible to de-energize the panel completely by simply turning off the breaker. This is because the breaker itself is energized from the load side, which can create a shock hazard. Thirdly, using a backfed breaker as a main can violate the listing and labeling requirements of the panel board. Panel boards are designed and tested to be used with specific types of main breakers, and using a backfed breaker can invalidate the panel board's listing, which is a requirement for many installations. The National Electrical Code is a comprehensive set of standards that governs the safe installation of electrical wiring and equipment. It is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and best practices. The NEC is adopted by many jurisdictions in the United States and is widely recognized as the authoritative source for electrical safety. It is important for electricians and other electrical professionals to be familiar with the NEC and to follow its requirements to ensure the safety of electrical installations. While specific code requirements can vary depending on the edition of the NEC that is in effect and the local jurisdiction, the general principle of not using backfed breakers as mains is consistent across different versions of the code. It is always recommended to consult the latest edition of the NEC and to check with local authorities to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. In summary, the NEC prohibits the use of backfed breakers as mains in panel boards because it can compromise the overcurrent protection of the electrical system and create safety hazards. It is essential to follow the NEC requirements and use appropriately rated and listed main breakers to ensure the safe and reliable operation of electrical installations. When selecting a main breaker for a panel board, it is important to consider the following factors. 1. The ampacity rating of the breaker must be sufficient to handle the total load of the panel board. This rating should be determined by calculating the total connected load of all the circuits served by the panel board. 2. The interrupting rating of the breaker must be adequate for the available fault current at the panel board location. The interrupting rating is the maximum amount of current that the breaker can safely interrupt without being damaged. 3. The breaker must be listed and labeled for use in the specific panel board. This ensures that the breaker has been tested and certified to meet the safety and performance requirements for that particular panel board. 4. The breaker must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and the NEC requirements. This includes ensuring that the breaker is properly secured in the panel board and that the conductors are correctly terminated. 5. The main breaker should be readily accessible and clearly labeled so that it can be easily identified and operated in case of an emergency. 6. Regular inspections and maintenance should be performed on the main breaker to ensure that it is functioning properly. This includes checking for signs of damage or wear and testing the breaker's tripping mechanism. 7. If the main breaker is found to be defective or damaged, it should be replaced immediately by a qualified electrician. 8. All electrical work should be performed by qualified and licensed electricians who are familiar with the NEC requirements and local regulations. 9. Proper grounding and bonding techniques should be used to minimize the risk of electrical shock. 10. Arc fault circuit interrupters, or RFCIs, and ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, should be installed in accordance with the NEC requirements to provide additional protection against electrical hazards. In addition to the specific prohibition against using backfed breakers as mains, the NEC also contains numerous other requirements related to overcurrent protection. For example, Section 240.4 addresses the protection of conductors, stating that conductors must be protected against overcurrent in accordance with their ampacities. This means that the overcurrent protection device, such as the circuit breaker or fuse, must be sized to protect the conductor from overheating. Section 240.21 covers the location of overcurrent protection devices, specifying where these devices must be placed in the electrical system. Section 240.85 addresses the requirements for series-rated circuit breakers, which are breakers that are designed to be used in series with other breakers to provide coordinated overcurrent protection. Section 408 provides general requirements for switchboards and panel boards, including requirements for the installation of overcurrent protection devices. Section 408.36 specifies the maximum number of overcurrent devices that can be installed in a panel board. In addition to the NEC requirements, there may also be local codes and regulations that govern electrical installations. It is important to check with the local authorities to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. The consequences of violating the NEC and other electrical codes can be severe. Violations can result in fines, penalties, and even criminal charges. More importantly, violations can create safety hazards that can lead to electrical fires, injuries, and even death. Therefore, it is essential to take electrical safety seriously and to follow all applicable codes and regulations. When working on electrical systems, it is important to use appropriate personal protective equipment, or PP. This includes wearing safety glasses, gloves, and other protective clothing. It is also important to use properly insulated tools and equipment. Before starting any electrical work, it is essential to energize the circuit or equipment that will be worked on. This can be done by turning off the appropriate circuit breaker or disconnecting the power supply. It is also important to verify that the circuit or equipment is energized by using a voltage tester. If there is any doubt about whether a circuit or equipment is de-energized, it is always best to err on the side of caution and assume that it is energized. It is also important to be aware of the potential hazards of working near energized electrical equipment. Keep a safe distance from energized equipment and avoid contact with any exposed conductors or terminals. If it is necessary to work near energized equipment, use appropriate insulating barriers and shields to protect yourself from electrical shock. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. Everyone who works on or around electrical systems should be aware of the potential hazards and take steps to protect themselves and others. By following the NEC requirements, using appropriate PPE, and following safe work practices, it is possible to minimize the risk of electrical accidents and injuries. Remember that electricity is a powerful force that can be dangerous if not handled properly. Always take the necessary precautions to protect yourself and others from electrical hazards. If you are not qualified to perform electrical work, hire a licensed electrician to do the job. It is better to be safe than sorry when it comes to electricity. In addition to the information provided in the NEC, there are also many other resources available to help you learn about electrical safety. These resources include textbooks, training courses, and online materials. Take advantage of these resources to expand your knowledge and improve your skills. By continuously learning and improving, you can become a more competent and confident electrician. The electrical industry is constantly evolving, with new technologies and techniques being developed all the time. It is important to stay up to date on the latest developments so that you can provide the best possible service to your customers. Attend industry conferences, read trade publications, and participate in online forums to stay informed. By staying current with the latest trends, you can remain competitive and provide value to your clients. The electrical profession is a rewarding one, but it is also a challenging one. It requires a high level of skill, knowledge, and dedication. If you are willing to put in the effort, you can have a successful and fulfilling career as an electrician. Never compromise on safety. Safety should always be your top priority when working on electrical systems. Take the time to do the job right and never cut corners. By prioritizing safety, you can protect yourself and others from harm. The electrical code is not just a set of rules, it is a set of guidelines designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. By following the code, you can help to ensure the safety of your community. The NEC, or National Electrical Code, is a living document that is constantly being updated to reflect changes in technology and best practices. It is important to stay informed about the latest changes to the code so that you can comply with the current requirements. The NEC is not a substitute for good judgment. It is important to use your common sense and experience when working on electrical systems. If something doesn't seem right, don't do it. Seek the advice of a qualified electrician. The NEC is a valuable resource for electricians and other electrical professionals. By understanding and following the code, you can help to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical installations. The NEC is a complex document, but it is not impossible to understand. With dedication and effort, you can learn the code and become a competent and confident electrician. The NEC is a tool that can help you to be a better electrician. Use it wisely and responsibly. Remember that the NEC is not the only source of information about electrical safety. There are many other resources available to help you learn about electrical hazards and how to prevent them. Take advantage of these resources to expand your knowledge and improve your skills. The NEC is a guide to safe electrical practices, not a rigid set of rules. There may be situations where it is necessary to deviate from the code, but only if you can demonstrate that the alternative approach is equally safe or safer. Always consult with a qualified electrical engineer or inspector before deviating from the code. The NEC is a consensus standard, meaning that it is developed through a process that involves input from a wide range of stakeholders, including electricians, engineers, manufacturers, and consumers. This ensures that the code reflects the best practices and knowledge of the electrical industry. The NEC is a valuable tool for promoting electrical safety, but it is not a substitute for education and training. It is essential for electricians and other electrical professionals to receive proper training in electrical theory, safe work practices, and the NEC requirements. The NEC is a guide to good electrical practice, but it is not a guarantee of safety. It is important to use your judgment and experience to assess the risks associated with any electrical task and to take appropriate precautions to protect yourself and others from harm. The NEC is a dynamic document that is constantly evolving to meet the changing needs of the electrical industry. It is important to stay up to date on the latest changes to the code and to adapt your practices accordingly. The NEC is a resource that can help you to be a more successful electrician. By understanding and following the code, you can provide your customers with safe, reliable, and code-compliant electrical installations.